Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to How to Repair, Sunday's questions and answers. And I've got a guest with me today from Ireland, and he's Barry, and he's part of the TDA team, which is a domestic appliance company in Southern Ireland. Or bear with me, let me turn Barry on. Are you there, Barry? 1 second, I've got you. Speak again.
Hello.
Yeah, okay, we got you. Okay, we got a load of questions today, Barry, from all sorts of people. Someone's just jumped into the chat as well. If you've got any questions, we do need them normally before the show. This allows us to get any technical information to be able to help you. You can either use the chat on the actual YouTube form before the show, and they will show up and we can get you information, or you can actually send it in via the website and we'll try and answer any questions on a Sunday. Now, where are you two in Ireland, Barry?
I'm up in the very north of Ireland, Paul, up in Donegal. So
Donegal,
just right up at
right.
the very top, and a beautiful day here today.
Well, join the club. I've even got umbrellas keeping the cameras set up. I'm in a place, just bear with me, and I'll bring this up on the screen because, as you know, I'm traveling all over the place. Let me just bring up shared screen. I'm just trying to find the right one. Bear with me. Me screen. Oh, there we go. So as you can see, I'm in a place just outside of Ouarzazate, and this is where the great big solar refinery is. It's the largest solar station in North Africa, and I've got a tour in the next couple of days to go round the whole place. And what I've done is I've set up the camera so you can actually, if I just quickly look 1 second to see if the furnace is still going, and it is, I will flick onto the screen to show everyone. So just bear with me. And okay, if I go to camera 2, no, wrong way. If you can see out there in the distance, you can see just over the fence there a great big gleaming light. And that is where all the mirrors focus the light on a tower that heats up some type of salt liquid, which I'm going to learn about. And that then actually runs turbines, I believe. I'm really looking forward to actually seeing that. So we'll start on the questions. Who else we got here? Rajan Despade, regards from Dublin. So we got one of your counterparts jumping on. Do you know him?
It's Regina. No, I
Regina.
personally do not, but hello and welcome. Welcome to the channel.
Hi, Port Laddie has sent in a message. Burkai, did you actually do a page for Laddie with regards his Hotpoint WF000G? He's got the rinse and hold light on, Barry. And the on-off LED flashing on halfway through the wash cycle. Any idea?
Usually, what those WFs are getting on about now is the 2004 or 5 machine, I believe. So flashing on those, if it's all the lights, can be the capacitor, which I believe you covered in a video previously.
What, the
If it's just the runs,
680 UF?
UF1, yeah. But if he's just getting the rinse and hold light flashing midway through the wash, is the wash machine heating? And if so, I would check for blockages and other simple things like that. So it'll either be a blockage or the machine's heat element has failed, basically.
Right, okay. I hope that answers your question, laddie. Uh, it'll be ready after the show. Okay. So Burkai, who's in the background, laddie, will actually get something put together for you on a page after the show, and if you send a message through the website, he'll then be able to email you directly the link. Okay, you already have the email. Okay, no problem. Okay, I'm going to start firing through what's come in this week. It seems to be getting quite a lot of questions coming in. So, Joel Best, I have a Beko B3T48231DW heat pump tumble dryer, and it is leaking water from the base when opening the front panel where the evaporator is. This was full of water. The water is not getting to the rear collection tray, the pump where the pump is located. I fear the coils are blocked. Okay, basically, first thing you need to do is make sure the machine is level. That is very important for the water to go down to the correct collection points. But these heat pump tumble dryers do have a lot of problems where the evaporator and the condenser blocks up with fluff over a period of time. And some of this fluff can get down to the pump and cause blockages in the pump. So the pump is unable to transfer the water to the top of the machine. Can you think of anything else that may be causing a problem?
No, well, the Beko heat pump condenser dryer is very actually simple to check. So, firstly, is the machine putting the water from the bottom up to the container at the top? If so, um, you can check the pump access at the rear very easily with one Phillips head screw, I believe. So if there's a blockage of lint, which most probably there is in there, you can clear out that blockage from the hydraulic system in there. So just a few basic checks. If it's not putting the water up to the container up above, definitely would check for a blockage down below at the rear where the pump system activates. Definitely common on those for getting clogged up.
Right, okay. I've come across a lot of problems with these where underneath the evaporator and the condenser, it becomes like a knitted blanket. There's so much fluff that seems to come down. Any tricks, Barry, that you've got for accessing these to clean them? Because most of these on the Becos have to have the drum completely out of the machine to actually get to the evaporator and the condenser coils, then to be able to lift the compressor out with all the pipe work to be able to clean in there properly. I find it bizarre that the manufacturers are making it so blooming difficult to gain, you're smirking there, to gain access to this. What's your opinion?
Yes, that is true, but I'm sure they're restricted by the design process currently to fit the openings in our homes. I suppose it would be nice to have it at the top of the machine, like some American designs is a lot easier access. But if they could, the customer could access the rear. A wet vac is handy to vacuum in around that area. It can usually pull out the majority of blockages that occur in there without you having to get into a sticky situation by removing the drum and the delicate pipe work in there and those heat pump dryers.
One of the things I did a video going back a while, I think it was an unboxing of a heat pump tumble dryer. And when you take looking at the machine from the front and you take the left-hand side panel off, yeah, they
Yeah,
would easily be able to create a hatch that sits on top of the evaporator. And then on the underside of the machine, have a separate hatch. So you could
yeah,
actually open the top of the evaporator and the bottom of the evaporator, be able to clear out anything that's in there, and then also be able either to put an airline in and blow through the fins or actually use some flushing fluid. But there's no way of doing that on nearly all of the European heat pump tumble dryers. They've made it so you have to take the whole drum out of the machine to actually lift this plate off. Where if they had the actual plate as a small plate, like the size of a shoebox, for example, yeah, on the top of the evaporator and the condenser, and one on the underside, it would make it so much easier for general public to be able to maintain these machines because they are
it would.
energy efficient. But if they're not lasting to the point where customers are getting beneficial lifespan off the machine, it's a pointless exercise.
correct. Yeah,
You,
it comes down to I find that a majority of people that buy a heat pump dryer in their retailer are not actually being told of what they're being sold. Prevention is better than curing these machines, so it is absolutely paramount that the filter in the door is cleaned every cycle, and at least every week the little foam filter down the front is also cleaned. Because if you're letting it go to a state where you need to remove the drum out of the machine to clean it and access it, well, it's lack of maintenance. They I've seen people that really keep these machines clean, and they never need to access the areas of dismantling the machine to such an extent. So if you can really keep those filters clean at the front, as well as the one on the door, usually you shouldn't get into a problem of having to dismantle a heat pump dryer to such an extent.
I noticed when I was at the IFA show in Berlin, and I was going around all the different manufacturers. When heat pump tumble dryers first came out, they just had the basic filter system inside the door, and
Correct.
possibly second sponge filter down by the evaporator. But now
Hmm.
they're putting double filters systems in. They're realizing that problem occurs. Um,
Yeah,
but the problem being is the more filters that you put in, the more you're restricting the airflow, and therefore
correct.
you're causing more problems with the air getting over the evaporator and the condenser efficiently.
Yes. It's you can't really win, can you? I mean, you lose in one half of drying speed and energy efficiency while trying to keep the condenser clean, and then vice versa. Then, so it's really a problem for manufacturers. But I do see as each generation of new heat pump dryer does come to the market, they are quite, they're getting there. They're cleverly sorting these problems out. And most of the high end machines, anyway, like Bosch and LG and stuff, have a great actual self clean system built into these machines now, which is really easily accessed, and it effectively cleans the condenser coil as well, which is brilliant.
I
Um,
mean,
but I see,
uh, I was watching the other day Ben's Appliances in America, and
yes, great channel.
yeah, he was having a look at the LG. Now, their condenser and evaporator unit is on the top of the machine, easy accessible, but like all American
Yes,
appliances, they're three times the size of ours. So they've got the
yes.
space to actually put these things in. But it was always
Mhm.
amazing when the new gas system came out in refrigeration. The Americans never followed the 600 gas route until
Yeah.
nearly 10, they didn't make it compulsory for 10 years after it came out in Europe. It was like they
Mm,
were waiting to see if it worked efficiently and if there was any problems before they started using 600 gas in America. And
yeah.
the heat pump tumble dryers in America are, as I said, are three times the size. So therefore, you're able to put big filtration systems in, increase the size of the evaporator and the condenser to allow for the airflow and make it more efficient.
Yeah.
Laddie's just sent us another question. Yes, I've checked. The bulging capacitor is okay, and the glass is warm to touch. Thanks. I've checked all for blockages. Well, he's saying he's checked the capacitor on the PCB. I'm not too sure what if the capacitor is bulging on the. You actually say in your text here, laddie, that I've checked the bulging capacitor. I don't know if you're meaning that the capacitor is bulging and you've tested it. If it's bulging, it normally means the capacitor is faulty. If it's got a domed head on it, it normally looks like it's splitting, and that could be the problem. If the glass is warm on the door, that means the heating system's working. But the best way of always checking that is with one of those meters that I use, which basically you can plug the appliance in and then see that the appliance is drawing 2 kilowatt or whatever the size of the element is while it should be heating. But if the glass is warm, that normally indicates that you are heating up. Anything else you can think of for Laddie?
Off the top of my mind, and if Laddie could send on the model and serial number of that machine as well, we can check to see where we can send them.
He
If it's a
did.
file issue as well, he did.
Yeah, he did. It's a WF000G. So it's graphite and it's the early Hotpoint one.
Yeah, they're a great machine. Yeah, they took over from the WMA, the true hot points at the time when Indesit took over. If it's having a fill issue, you should get the pre-wash light flashing as well to indicate there's a fill issue. But I'm sure Larry's checked all that. But we can email him on in a while, any of the fault codes to check. But it'll either be something to do with heating, filling, one of those areas. If the machine's got this far, I believe it won't be nothing serious.
Right. Okay. Well, he's just sent an update now, and it's saying, I mean, the C17 capacitor is not bulging. Okay. So
Okay.
he's basically checked the C17. Isn't there there's, if I recall, and it's been a while since I've had these in my hand, there's a 470 capacitor and a 680 on those circuit boards, and both of them can cause the same problem, can't they?
They can, but usually that will cause a complete light up of the panel. Every light will be flashing and flickering there. If Larry's just getting the one and runs hold, well, that's a particular area of fault that's troubling the machine.
Yeah, I've been doing so much traveling lately. I haven't been getting my hands dirty like yourself. So I'm not saying I'm losing touch. It's just I'm not in the field as much anymore nowadays. I'm in the workshop in May, and I'll be there for the whole of May. Okay, let's bring up another question from someone earlier in the week. Lily Beth, I think it is. I have a Beko B5T 692343 WBPB heat pump tumble dryer. I'm trying the combination to enter the service and test mode, but it doesn't work. So she's found the procedure for entering the test mode, but she's not able to get into test mode. This would either be you're not following the procedure 100% within the time scales. Yeah, because you've got to remember some of these test modes have got, what are they, 5-10 seconds to enter, Barry?
They have, yeah, they're all different, and sometimes they make up their own mind whether they want to allow you to continue or not. So it may take a few attempts, but just give process time. So if the customer can give it a few seconds before she moves on to the next access mode, just give the dryer a bit more time to learn on what you're trying to do. Some of them can be a lot of trouble to access than others, especially
Yes,
if
no,
it's the touch panel.
yeah, and of course, the touch panel will always need a good earth for the touch panel system to work.
Yeah,
Um, I do have a lot of problems sometimes with the early Bosches getting into test mode, and that's because of
yeah.
the touchscreen panels and everything. So
Hmm.
Burkeye has actually put a page together for you, Lily, and the link is in the chat. And that will take you through to the website where any information that we were able to get on the procedure is all in there for you. I hope that answers your question. We'll move on to another, so just bear with me 1 second. Next one is Rihanna, and she has a Beko OIE 22101X. Oven won't heat up. When the selector dial is on in any selection, none of the elements heat up. Although the fan does run, in addition to the elements not running, the red preheat light does not turn on. Now, if I remember correctly, the OIE version is a selector switch type, and that sounds like a common fault with the actual selector switch not sending either live or neutral to the circuit on the elements. Would you agree with that? There's a couple of thermal cutouts inside the cooker, but you would have well, I'm just trying to think of the circuits on them. Let me see if I can bring this up on screen. Just bear with me. Burkeye, can you give us the link, please, to... Sorry? Okay, yeah, I've got it. I'm just bringing that up on screen now. So let me just have a look what we were able to get you. Right, let me just get to the right. So let me take that question away so I'm not blocking the screen. Okay. I just want to have a look at the schematics on this. Yeah, it's a selector switch.
If the customer Rihanna there is getting a flicker between sections of lights there, that's usually a sure sign that the selector switch has gone down yet. The contacts are not
I
are not
think looking at that number of the selector switch, I think that may be an EGO selector switch. I
yeah.
know Gotak do some replacements for these, but you have got the wiring, the full workshop manual there for you, which is, it's not a big workshop, but it's 37 pages. And we've got all the exploded diagrams here. So you've got a base element, a fan oven element. Or have you got a fan oven element? Just bear with me. Or is it one that's just got a base element and a grill element? Yeah, I think this one of those cookers that are just using the base element and the grill element for the heating process. And as you
Yeah.
said, whenever you're using a selector switch, you must always turn the thermostat off before changing the position on the selector switch. This will allow you to be able to turn the select switch to the required program, then turn the thermostat on, and this way you will not do damage to the actual selector switch. Whenever you're flicking a selector switch round and the thermostat is on, you're causing a lot of sparking and arcing on the actual contacts, and this is what causes them to fail. I did do a video on this a year, 2 years ago. So I hope that answers your question. Just bear with me 1 second. That one's done. Okay, next question. Let me just go through the YouTube just in case any more's come in. No, we're up to date on them. So he has a Beko WMP601W washing machine. After regular washing cycle, my washing machine seems to be leaving water in the drum, so the clothes remain soaked. On this Beko, I can't remember if it's carbon brushes or circuit board, but if the motor is carbon brushes, you want to be checking them. But if there's water in the drum, this normally means that you've got a blockage in the system. This can be a blockage in the sump hose, possible elastic band or something small wrapped around the pump. You may have a pump problem where the pump has failed or the impeller is not attached to the shaft of the pump correctly and it's been knocked off by a coin or something. And you also want to check the waste pipe. The reason I say check the waste pipe, because if you have it plumbed into a sink unit, you may have a blockage at the connection point in the sink unit, which can also cause problems. Anything to add to that, Barry?
No, Paul, you've covered everything I would check there. Anyways, definitely there's going to be a pump issue there, or a blockage up at the spigot at the sink, which I personally come across last week as well. Machine's draining, but not draining as fast as it should.
Right. So what Burkeye has done for you, he has put a page together, and again, you've got just waiting for the page to open. Just bear with me. I'll just bring this up 1 second. No, I've got the wrong page for that. Right, let me move that. Just seeing what other information he's put on there. Yeah, he's done the video here, which will assist you with taking the pump off and having a look and testing it. And he's also put some other videos related to this as well. And you've got the wiring diagram, troubleshooting manual, which is 22 page, and then exploded views of the machine. What you really want to be looking at is, just trying to find the diagram that has this. Yeah, you've got the filter unit on the pump. I can't see a picture of the sump hose. No, it's not there. It will be in the workshop manual, but you really want to check that sump hose. That's the most common thing for a small sock to get in there. You might have checked the filter. It all looks clean, but at the end of the day, it only takes a small baby sock or something to get inside the sump hose, and that will cause you a nightmare of thinking things are working when they're not, because the water's not able to come from the drum to the pump. Hope that answers your question. Trying to get this mouse to come down on the right screen. It's sometimes a blooming nightmare. Right, let's bring the next one up. Rennie, I have a Beko WTK 7204 1B washing machine. When I load up the machine, it runs for longer time than normal without spinning, rinsing nor drain the water from water in the drum. When the cycle finishes, I tried to clean the filter unsuccessfully. It then broke, and I tried to force turn it. Okay, I would say a pile of coins inside the filter, and that's why he can't remove it. That's my first obvious assumption.
Yeah. The filter will need to be replaced now if you've broke it, because those machines will not drain the water. Even you do remove the blockage, if the filter housing is broken inside, it will not drain the water correctly. So it's a cheap item, which you can find on Paul's website. Definitely get yourself a spare one of those, because you're going to need it.
Oh, he's a lucky chappy. Bear with me 1 second. Share screens. Okay, Rennie, if you have a look at this page that we created for you, we have actually got, I believe, just bear with me, a second-hand pump. I'm just checking it's not sold out. Oh, it's sold out. Unlucky, mate. I did have a second-hand one at some point, but it's already sold. So you will be needing a new pump. Basically, we will put a link, most probably at the top of the page, and that will take you through to the supplier that will ship a new pump out for you. Cost of those pumps, Barry, about for 30, 40 quid?
30, 40 quid, yeah, for a complete Beko pump. Now, there are a few different variants of them, so just be careful with your model and serial number that you get the correct one for your machine.
Right, okay. So let's come off that one. Let me just move these out of the way. So I'm just going through these one by one. You plenty of work on, Barry?
Yeah, there's always problems in this job, Paul. So plenty of action throughout every week that goes by for
And plenty
appliance
of customers.
problems.
I was reading some of the forums the other day, and some of the engineers were getting really, some of the customers expecting them to turn up at their house at 7:30 in the morning because they got to go to work at 8. I mean,
Yeah.
general public on occasions does ask too much, and they don't realise that people are paid on an hourly basis and not allowed. They're not starting work at 6 o'clock in the morning to drive an hour to get to a customer's house at 7:30 just to accommodate them. It's an impossible. Okay, someone just, I think it's your Dublin person just sent a message through saying she'll watch later. Or, so we've got a Bush V7SDS vented tumble dryer. I wanted to ask if the Jockey wheels are replaceable since mine has sheared off. They should be available. There shouldn't be any problem with that. I don't know if Burkeye has put a link in to a page, and there will be a link on there for all the spare parts that are available for this machine. It's very important when changing the Jockey wheels that you make sure that you line up the belt onto the motor so it runs in the middle of the Jockey wheel, not pushing against it on one side or the other, because what will happen is over a period of time that will cause the Jockey wheel to shear again at the plastic. Anything else there, Barry?
No, I would check. I take it it's one of the Miele built family of dryers where you have to take the drum out through the rear, like the old White Knights.
All
Um,
right.
has it has it sheared off the pulley, the plastic on the motor itself, or has it snapped off the shaft that's built onto it? Because that may possibly require you needing a new motor as well too. But the
You
question
find
I
most
always say is
of these Bush is Argus, isn't it?
Bosch, yeah, Bosch, Logic, Miele, and a few other handful of brands that they use the one platform for that dryer. So it's basically got the big old element at the back and the pull through air system. Quite an actual simple dryer to work on, to be fair. They're quite simply laid out. So should be quite an easy fix for the customer there to start. But we just need to wonder why it happened in the first place. It's unusual for them to shear a jockey wheel unless something's jammed in there or the wrong type of belt has been fitted to the dryer. So just do those little simple checks before you assemble everything back together.
Right, okay. The Midia, I noticed last time I was working on a Midia tumble dryer, what amazed me was, and tell me if you agree here, but the Midia tumble dryers that I was looking at, the wiring inside the machines, they're still using the old screw twist connectors to join wires
Yeah,
together. I mean, I was amazed that they were allowed to do that selling into the European market. Have you come
yeah,
across?
it's I have seen it, yeah. Now I haven't paid particular notice to it, but I'm sure it works for them. So if they have
Oh, no,
the
it works.
CE mark from Europe, it must be okay.
I mean, I was just surprised because it was like a plastic bag over a group of wires, and these wires had been put into one of these screw sockets, which is the old house wiring type connectors. And I was like, were they short on spade connectors or something?
It works. It works, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose it does.
Yeah.
We can fire through some of these. Just bear with me. Okay, we got an LG one next. Okay, I'm just going to say Ollie here because I'm not even going to try and pronounce all this. Hi, I get Evercode IE no matter what program I choose for washing. When rinsing is about to start at the end of each program, the error, the error, any ideas what the problem might be? LG F6WV710S1W, IE error code. Bear with me. Well, the IE error code that I'm looking at on LGs is not filling in the allocated period of time. Would you agree with that, Barry?
Yeah, I'd agree. I'm just checking that model out online here. That's quite a new enough model from LG. Definitely would check the filter gauze at the back of the valve. Firstly, um, Definitely. If so, most likely a valve has failed on one side. Uh,
Okay, so
definitely, yeah.
what I would do is if you just type in to the website LGIE error code and then go through to tutorials, you will actually find that there are a couple of different videos here. One actually explains the fault. Do be aware that the new LGs are running DC water valves now, not AC water valves. Uh, the older machines were AC water valves, and I've had quite a few customers that have changed the solenoids on a DC washing machine circuit and put an AC water valve in, and hey presto, they've blown the circuit board. Yeah,
Yeah, you don't want to do that, no.
yeah.
A
Well,
costly mistake.
a costly mistake indeed. And that's just people assuming that all water valves on washing machines now are AC. They
Hmm.
what companies are you coming across now that are using DC pumps and DC? LG, Samsung, Daewoo, Media, I think.
Yeah, Bosch and Siemens now and Neff, I believe, are starting to filter them out in their new, any of their wash machines fitted with their 4D wash system. They have the DC pumps and left valves as well. So the Koreans seem to have mastered it first, and the Germans are coming behind now with the technology. Um, the rest probably will follow soon. It is a reliable setup and more smoother, I suppose, um, especially for the pumps. They're obviously able to add more flexibility and quietness as well for modern wash machines and stuff like.
Oh, they are much quieter. I noticed that
They are.
straight away. It's like a soft start, isn't it? It's you don't get
They
the
are, yeah.
it's I don't know how they actually achieve it, but they just seem to run a lot quieter because while under load you haven't got that cavitating on the pump itself. It seems to only run at the required flow for the water.
Yes, it's just being able to perfect that flow is a magic trick, isn't it, to cancel noise? So it's quite interesting stuff what they're able to do now, to be fair. It's absolutely, it's
Well,
fascinating. It is.
well, some of the I do. Although LG do not give always, have you got access, Barry, to technical data on LG, like the workshop manuals or anything?
No, to be fair, Paul, I personally haven't needed it because any LGs that I do come across are usually in the bracket of 7 to 10 years old, and usual consumable parts fail on them, like pumps and valves. To be fair, they're quite a great wash machine. Anyone has them is really impressed with them, and they're quite well behaved. To be fair, so
Well,
the failure rate on an LG would be quite slim with me.
I've actually done a few videos. I flicked that to the wrong camera then. I done a few videos on these LGs, and I've been impressed that the manufacturer now is stamping the genuine part number of the
Yeah,
part on the actual component, which makes it a lot easier for general public to make sure that they're
yeah,
getting the part. It's easier for us to be able to go and source the parts because we're not having to get exploded diagrams, then try and work out what part fits. And the only thing that's lacking with LG at the moment is them supplying technical data to the general public and the likes of ourselves with regards
yes,
wiring diagrams and stuff like that. Because I notice now I'm in Morocco, and believe it or not, one of the biggest problems that they've got with electrics in this country is rodents. Because they
yes,
keep the washing machines outside in the porch or in an external area, mice, rats, and so on nest inside the washing machine, and they just go on a binge of eating every wire under the sun. And of course, some people have got a wiring loom that has been, eaten away, and they need to rejoin wires up and this, that, and the other. And of course, without having the wiring diagram, it's very hard for them to do that. And of course, I'm not
yes,
able to help because I'm not able to get them the details. But
yeah.
what mentioning this, Barry, what's your opinion of the way that um, Beko now has acquired Whirlpool Europe? Yeah, that means that Hotpoint Interset and everything is under the Beko badge. Do you think they are going to start producing the wiring diagrams and workshop manuals to the likes of everyone now, rather than just their own engineers?
I believe so, Paul. That Beko have always been at the forefront of the environment. To be fair, their machines I see there now coming along do have a repair manual online, so the customer has great access to that, and they really are focused now going forward on having appliances that are easier repairable for the customer. To be fair to them, so that they're I know there was a global meeting there a few weeks back where they want every brand in the industry to pull together and focus on more eco-friendly designs. So I believe their mindset is in the right direction going forward for appliances. Beko was always great to work on anyway. They were quite a logically laid out machine, and you could work on them quite easily. But the fact that they're going one step further now and giving customers access to repair manuals and streamlining the product to become more repairable is definitely the way forward. And if they can start this or spearhead this direction, hopefully other manufacturers will follow in suit as well. So it's really great to see that. I think now is the time in the current climate that we start investing or looking into this rather than turning a blind eye to it sometimes, because it's not, it can't continue, it cannot continue in the way that it's going in our throwaway society.
No.
We have to be able to keep these machines for longer, and smart design is coming along now. That I believe Miele there at the IFA, you've probably seen their new vacuum cleaner where you can keep the carcass for as long as you want, but you can always upgrade the recyclable parts going along. So in theory, you could keep that stick vacuum forever, which is a brilliant idea. I think if we could put that into wash machines and dishwashers and stuff, where if you want to swap the parts going forward and upgrade the machine to the newer design and fit new panels and stuff to the one carcass, I think that would be brilliant. So you're never
Well,
having to throw that product away.
the one thing that was letting me down with Miele at the trade show was when I was having a look after I came back from the trade show and had a look. I tilted a few of the Miele's over, and they've actually started to put sealed drums into some of the Miele's on the lower end range.
Yes.
Why? Why build a company reputation that took 40, 50 years to become one of the best in the industry and still be family owned, and then suddenly go and, you know, upset your loyal customers by putting a sealed drum in? It just doesn't make sense to me.
No, I believe that's the machines that are assembled in the Polish factory, which was commissioned in 2017. Um, Now, my view on that is, what is that seal tub costing from Miele should it ever fail in the future is the main one here. I can't be able to find online any access to retail prices on that. That would be the main deciding factor for me. Um, I
Well,
suppose, like every other company.
if we consider looking at Miele washing machines that they produced early 2000 and saying that a
Yeah,
motor for that Miele is £350 new, what is the drum going to be?
that is the question. Now, time will tell. Time will tell whether that seal tub system works out for them. But I suppose it's price pointing. It's every manufacturer now is under pressure, with the current conditions in the world to make a product feasible, and keep in business. Bottom line. So it's going to be very hard for them not to fall down the route of making a cheaper product with a high end brand name. Still, the machines above that lower end are still brilliant. I'm sure you've seen the new W2 Nova wash machine that they're bringing out is just out of this world with technology in it, while still remaining the build quality made in Gütersloh, Germany.
That's
I can't wait to get my hands on one of those. It's very
that's
impressive.
the auto dosing system and all the Carlos Fandango bits to go with it, with the Wi-Fi apps and everything else.
Yeah, yeah, it's madness, isn't it? And I wonder how the paddleless drum they brought out now, the Infinity Care that it is called, will work. That's an interesting one for me. How they will get it to toss clothes. Miele claim with AI technology they have found a way around this, but I would like to see it for myself to see how this actually pulls off a wash without any paddles inside the drum. So that's
I
quite
would,
an innovative thing they've come up
well,
with.
a video that is to come shortly is I went up to the top of the Atlas Mountains, and I passed you the link to that video today coming down.
Yeah,
And I was up in a village in the middle of nowhere, and every morning at 9 o'clock, as soon as the light was getting a little bit warm, you've got 20 or 30 girls down in the river washing the laundry in the river, mate. And,
yeah.
I look at things like that, and people are complaining about, their washing machines and everything else. It, we, I know we're Europe has got the advantages of, we are able to afford to buy appliances where they're not. They can't even afford to buy twin tubs up there. But
Yeah.
what was, you know, I think our technology with washing machines now, how lazy is the general public going to become? Are we going to sit in front of a washing machine door in the next 5 years and that's going to be an LCD TV?
Who knows, Paul? And I can't wait for the day where the machine can actually do the ironing and folding for me when it's done. That will be a real godsend of time. Um, but no, we're really spoilt up here in Europe. I mean, where does it stop? It's like our mobile phones now. We just cannot do without them being in our hand for more than 5 minute period of time. So it does beg the question of where it all ends up. But I
Well,
would hope no one's doing. Go ahead.
Would would you agree that the washing machine basic concepts have not changed in the last 45 to 50 years?
No, they have not. And what the next breakthrough on that is going to be, who knows? But for the time being, for the last 100 years, washing clothes in water is irreplaceable. Um, so it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure it'll come along eventually, but I wonder what that breakthrough will be to change the current wash machine that we know and love into something totally different, which it will be. It'll be like the electric cars, like, so different to what we're used to. But time will tell. I'm sure someone will crack it. Um, but what that will be, not involving water, I assume, bearings and a drum splashing clothes in water. Well, you're just not going to beat the old system, are you?
Well, it's getting to the well, for me, I prefer to keep things basics. I'm having to use a Chinese twin tub at the moment, and I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Stay there 1 second. I want to show you something that is so bad build quality, and I just couldn't believe this. 1 second. I'll just go over to the twin tub and get this filter. Yeah, this is a filter system that I've just grabbed out of the twin tub. And you're talking about quality control. Can you see this filter here? And I'll try
And
and bring it up. Look how many of the holes for the filter have not even been blown through. Yeah, it's just a piece of plastic they've jammed in the side. The filter can't work because the water can't get in there.
yeah,
And I'm going to have to heat up a pin now of some type to actually make all those little 150, 200 holes usable. Yeah. And I just can't believe that comes out of the quality control. I mean, it's
yeah.
obvious.
The heat of Morocco has re-welded them on you, Paul.
Yeah, well, the heat could have resealed them, but no, I'm not going to let the Chinese off that easy. I mean, if you saw the fill hose for this machine, it's like how could I describe it? It's like the new McDonald's straw. You can use it five, six
Yeah,
times, or 5, 6 goes of getting the Coke out of the glass, and then the straw starts to disintegrate to a point that you can't use it anymore. And this is
yeah.
how they build these hoses and everything. Anyway, we've got another question just come in from. Oh, right. Okay. So let me add to broadcast. Ollie has just come in after we brought her question up, or his question up. Water inlet filter is fine. Have done diagnostic, both valves open. They have service mode is on. It's just within the washing program and rinsing cycles. Then I start to get... Well, if it's on the rinsing cycles, that's one specific valve. Yeah. Would you agree with that? Yeah. That's one
Yeah.
specific valve. And if the flow of water, it might be worth actually... Now, this depends if it's an AC water valve or a DC water valve before I even say anything, because I don't want you connecting up a water valve and testing it off the machine. But you need... An IE error code would come up if the machine is unable to fill in the allocated period of time. Now, although the machine on the wash cycle fills okay, but when it comes to the rinse cycle and it first drains down the water, it then would be using a separate water valve to fill the machine. Now, if this water valve is not allowing the water to come through in a correct flow rate, therefore the machine is going to come up with an error, unable to fill in the allocated period of time. Would you agree with that, Ba?
Oh, yes, correct. The customer can even see if put it on a separate rinse cycle and see if the water's coming in there at a good rate. Now, that LG may be equipped with the 8-way recirculation pump system as well. Just check that there's no blockages there, because I know modern software and hot points and stuff can throw you the wrong way. They can give you a water inlet error whenever they can't pump water, or the linear pressure switch system cannot detect a fill. So just check all the basics with
I
um,
think I
your
think
own
a lot of
testing.
people I think a lot of people, Barry, when manufacturers build these Evercode diagnostic systems, they are only pointing engineers in the right direction.
Yes.
They're not a Bible of this is the fault.
No.
Yeah. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
people read the workshop manuals and other bits and pieces, and they just do not realize that it's only an error code like IE is saying unable to fill in the allocated period of time. It does not necessarily mean it's a water valve fault. It might even
Correct.
be that you might not even be getting power to that specific water valve. Now, if you've got a
Hmm.
jump wire for the negative or the neutral, depending on whether it's AC or DC water valve, and it's linking from one valve to another valve on the negative or the neutral, you may have a bad connection between the two valves. Yeah, and that could be a problem as well. So you really want to make sure that that water valve, when it's on a rinse cycle, as Barry said, it might even be worth taking the soap door out and inspecting the flow of water that's coming down from the top. Uh, it should be splashing out towards you if it's got adequate flow. If it's only a trickle, then you have a problem with that specific water valve. And you may even
Hmm.
have a problem where the filter or the internal gummings of the water valve, the lifter or the actual seals, are blocked with some sort of um, fine grit or deposits and not allowing the water to go through. So I hope that answers your question, Ollie.
And
Right.
please do, Ollie, make a video of the problem and send it in to us.
Yeah.
Definitely, so we can see. But if it's such a relatively new LG, in theory, it'll be a logical problem. It'll be something upsetting the machine, because the failure rate is quite low with those now, to be fair.
Okay. We've got a... Have I done this one? Miele, this is your field more than mine. Miele... Oh, it's all right. I've got birds starting to appear at the top of the drive here.
They're
Um,
getting hungry, Paul.
yeah, yeah. I'm waiting to be... one of these streams are going to go wrong one day. Something's going to turn up. Uh, Miele washing machine, Novtronic W916. Put the rest of the number, which is 20/32 988175. It will only spin on 1200 will not spin on 14 or 1600. Do you know the reason why? Have you got the part? Is it a carbon brush motor, the W916?
It would be, yes. Now, a common problem on those Mieles at that particular age now is definitely check the shock absorbers. If they are shot and there's too much bounce on that machine, it will restrict the spin. And definitely the number one cause of that in the older generation of Mieles. Another object is to check is the breather pipe, which runs out of the side of the pump and goes up into the waste, can become blocked. That will also restrict the high spin on a Miele. But it's most likely the shocks are like bicycle pumps, as we say. So if you're getting extreme fluctuation when you push the drum up and down, definitely shocks need changing.
So the circuit board's basically getting information saying imbalance load
Correct.
and not allowing it to go into high spin speed.
Correct. It's pulling back, yeah. And shocks is usually the number one cause in an old Miele for that to happen. If that breather pipe happens to be free, they also clog the spin on that particular machine.
So breather pipe, suspension legs, and make sure, of course, it's emptied all the water in the allocated period of time.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's lovely. I hope that answers your question, Terence. Siemens, next one, Peter. Let me just bring this up. I have a Siemens WM14T6E8DN/13 washing machine. Thanks for the videos. Give me the confidence that I have to replace ball bearings on. God, these birds are everywhere now. Washing machine. One big problem though. I spent a whole evening trying to figure which kind of ball bearing to get. Well, if replacement bearings and not the genuine bearings, NFK, FAG. Who else would you recommend?
There's S
There's
or NFK. Oh, the other one. What's the other one? Springs to mind.
FAG bearings.
Yeah.
Uh,
There's an SFK as well in those.
yeah,
Um,
the DS
any
is
of those high end brands.
yeah. It's always worth putting quality bearings in. I mean, at the end of the day, a bearing is only going to last a period of time because you're not able to grease them or anything else. So they're sealed bearings. They go in. The most important thing is getting the correct seal. When you actually replace the bearings on these machines, you really want to make sure that the shaft is in good condition on the Spider. Make sure that the seal is fitting nicely. Sometimes I put a little bit of Vaseline on the edge of the seal. Yeah, that helps. There are some special lubricants that you can put on, but if any water ever gets into the bearings, well, it's just going to cause wear on them over a period of time. And then, of course, you will notice that you start to get clothes with little dots on them, which is the most common thing that happens when bearings go, that you get oil stains on your clothing. But
Yeah. Um,
the genuine Siemens Bosch bearings are good anyway.
Oh yeah, they're of the main thing when installing bearings, as you say, is make sure the weep hole that lets the water out of the bearing housing is clear, and preferably use a pull set to insert the bearings. I mean, usually when people whack them in with mallets and stuff, you're going to be back in there pretty soon if the bearing gets damaged. You know that there's a very fine threshold there if that happens.
Yeah.
You've done that in your previous videos with Siemens, probably, but crucially,
Oh,
the shaft is smooth and clean. The right seal is there, and a bit of lubricant is put on the bearings as well too.
and
It's a
when you're
job you don't
tapping
want to be back there.
when you're inserting the bearings, even if you haven't got a set of bearing pullers or
Yeah,
bearing loaders, make sure that you tap the bearing down in a fashion that keeps the bearing square rather than the bearing slightly tilting when you knock it into
yeah.
the aluminium, because you can do a lot of damage that way. We've only
You will.
got 3 more questions to get through, and then we can call it a day. Um, Raiders 543. I have a Thermador range cooker. 2000. Well, that could just be a serial number. The cooling fan will not turn until the cooling fan will not turn until unplugged or the circuit breaker is turned off. I've replaced the sensor. Can you have a go at reading this? I'm not making sense of it. The cooling, says here, the cooling fan will not turn until unplugged. Is he
Yeah,
meaning will not turn off until unplugged?
yeah. Well, what I'd like to know there is how long is the cooling fan running for? Have you given it enough time? Because they can run for up to half an hour after the oven is switched off, which I'm sure the customer is aware of. Um, if it's
I
running
mean,
constantly,
go on.
if it's running constantly, I would assume there's a constant feed there going to that fan. Uh, that doesn't that doesn't break it
Yeah,
off whenever the machine is cooling down. And you've changed
right.
the thermostat.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say to Raiders then, there is a thermostat that normally turns the cooling fan on once the cavity between the inner oven and the outer part of the oven exceeds, let me give you an example. They all vary, but normally it's somewhere in the region of 70 degrees. And once that thermostat is activated, the fan starts to run. You finish
Hmm.
cooking and turn the cooker off. But until the cooker drops below 70 degrees, the cooling fan will continue running. Now, if the cooling fan doesn't turn off at all, it normally means that that thermostat has become faulty and is not
Yeah,
turning, not becoming an open circuit, and therefore constantly giving power to the cooling fan. By turning it off at the mains, of course, you're disconnecting the whole power supply to the cooker, and therefore the cooling fan will stop. And it might be that initial turning it off and then turning it back on might have given the thermostat a little nudge and it becomes open circuit. So I would definitely be checking that thermostat. And I don't think there's anything else that we can, it's either thermostat or possibly could be a selector switch, but that would be very, very rare for it to happen on a low loading side because the cooling fan will only be drawing somewhere in the region of about 50 watts.
mm.
Would you say
Yes,
50,
make
60
sure
watts?
it's wired up correctly as well. You haven't a live mixed up with the neutral or something at the rear.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, if you worked on the
Follow back
machine,
of your.
it's very hard for us if you've already worked on the machine to be able to diagnose the problem because we don't know if you've changed any of the wiring or not got something wired correctly.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers your question, Raiders. Last but one, Andy. My Zanussi ZDH8333W heat pump tumble dryer sometimes stops during the cycle. I've been trying to diagnose the issue, which seems to be due to the machine overheating and stopping. The machine's heating, drying is okay. I cleaned out the huge amount of fluff from inside the machine. We have seen E71. I unable to locate the temperature probe. Right, we should have been able. And Burkeye, with the Zanussi one, were we able to get the workshop manual and wiring diagram? Okay, if you could check that. Zanussi are another company, Andy, which are very good at producing workshop manuals, wiring diagram, and technical information on these machines. And they do go to the effort of making sure that this data is available to the general public. So Burkeye has actually done a page for you, and I'll open that up for you. So just bear with me. Uh, okay, so let me take away the question a second and see what we've got on the page. Okay, there's your full question. Right, we've got a link at the top of the page to any parts that you require. And we have managed to find you the wiring diagram, elementary diagram, service manual. They are just loading at the moment because there was a huge amount of data available on this machine. You've also got exploded diagrams to show you the machine, and I have got some second parts at the bottom. So that is an NTC sensor of some type, but that might not be the one you need. The manuals are loading. Sometimes they do take a while to load, and they will take a minute or so to come up. So the link is in the chat, Andy, and we've got a page for you. So if you just go to the live chat, or when this video finishes, there will be a link that takes you to this page, and you should have all the technical information. If you've got a large amount of fluff built up in the machine, yes, that will restrict the airflow going through and could cause problems with an NTC sensor or something like that. Is there anything else that you'd want to add to that?
No, Andy, if you've removed a large amount of fluff from inside the heat pump dryer, well, then you definitely would want to check why that is happening, because that should not be happening in the first place. So just make sure the seals and all is okay in the drum. There's a little fan that cools the compressor in front of the dryer. You'll see with that large amount of fluff that you found inside, I wouldn't be surprised if the intake at the front of the dryer that is hidden in behind a panel with the screw is blocked. So yes, the fan may be running, but it's not drawing air in from the outside temperature to cool the compressor during its operation. And also, just make sure that your condenser coil, when you pull down the little filter at the front of that Zanussi, which I also wouldn't be surprised is completely full with fluff as well if you look deep down into it. So just check the airflow. Dryer is probably struggling somewhere throughout the drying process to keep it cool due to a fluff blockage. So just use your eyesight just to check all those areas of ventilation and stuff.
Yeah, there's
But
an
if it's
awful lot of information in this workshop manual, too much to go through on
yeah,
this. You're just going to have to take your time and go through the whole of the workshop manual and all the other technical information that we've got up here for you. You've got the wiring diagram schematics, a couple of different versions of this, and I've also added some extra videos for you at the top to assist you. Feel free to come back to us if you still have a problem, but you have all the information that we have. Okay, so let me just come back here. We got one more question. Sorry, Burke. Bish Bash Bosh. That's a hell of a name. Let me bring this up. Go back to me. So bear with me 1 second. Okay, I have a Bosch 8 washing machine with iDOS. The drum is not splittable. Why can't Bosch do splittable drums and stainless? Built-in obsolescence. It's my favorite word in today's society with manufacturers. You know, there was no reason why manufacturers produced sealed drums. In my honest opinion, they all sat round a Christmas dinner table, all the manufacturers, and in one foul swoop decided to produce sealed drums. Now, a lot of the Intersets, Hot Points, Zanussis, who started to produce sealed drums, even had the audacity when they first came out to leave the screw holes there and actually still weld the drums. And what's the cost of 12 bolts? It was deliberately designed for built-in obsolescence, I'm sorry to say. And I think everyone, you know, there's a lot of people out there which would not spend 4 hours to strip down a washing machine and put a new spider, bearings, and a seal, and then reassemble the machine. There's a lot of people who have time available to them that would do that to save themselves money. So why not let the general public choose instead of the manufacturers dictating? Yeah. Uh, you know, I came over here and I stayed at a small little guest camping site, and they had a Hisense washing machine. 9 kilo, not that old. And I took the lid off and I was shocked. The drum's completely splittable. But that same Hisense machine in Europe is not splittable. Do you come across that often, Barry?
Yeah, I'll tell you what's happening there, Paul. I mean, any Chinese brand I have seen never have used a plastic welded tub, so the Chinese mustn't be allowing that at all. Now, in the case of that Hisense machine, they are probably using the Gorenja factories in is it Slovenia or Slovakia, where Gorenja used to manufacture washing machines. They always used to see tub in that model. So Hisense has probably manufactured certain models there, and then their Chinese built ones then are the ones you're seeing that are coming with the split tubs. So that's probably what you're witnessing there. Two different factories, two different methods of the one machine.
Bish bash bosh. I love saying that. Also sent a message. What do you make of eBack washing machines? Well, what impresses me with eBack washing machines is they're putting a 7-year warranty on some of their machines. Yeah. And that is for not only parts and labour, that's including the call out, I believe. And when the machine is costing the same price as a Bosch, I would take the 7-year guarantee. What's your opinion, Barry?
Absolutely, Paul. Any manufacturer that's given 7-year parts and labour, I mean, even if it does break, the fact that it's not costing you anything to fix, and to be fair, the eBack washing machine is very easy to disassemble yourself. To be fair to it, I just think it's brilliant. Like it's 7 years guaranteed washing free of charge, and when it is broke outside of its guarantee period, very easy to disassemble. Put a set of bearings in it. It's brilliant, and every other manufacturer should follow the same. Uh, why not? I mean, you're guaranteed a washing machine that's not going to cost you anything for 7 years. Is It's a no-brainer, really.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Right, the last one, and I'm going to call it a day, unless any questions come in the next couple of seconds on the side. Ian, I have a Zanussi ZTT 21006FA integrated dishwasher. After 3 to 4 minutes, washing machine fault beeps twice, and I have to change twice. Have changed the inlet valve and the pressure switch. Everything is clean. Brand new inlet valve. Right. The only thing I can think of here is if the machine is timing out in the allocated fill time. What do you think?
Most definitely. Siemens and Zanussis now have a common issue with those pressure switches, which I believe there is an upgrade kit for them to stop them doing that. So, have you changed it with a new pressure switch, or have you just put on another second-hand one into the machine again? They do take a while to recalibrate. Even you do put that new pressure switch in, they can spend up to 5 to 15 minutes before they will start to fill. So you'll get a process of emptying, filling for a long period of time before they're able to pick up the new pressure switch is installed, recalibrate, and start the job off again. Just give it a bit of time, maybe if it's a new pressure switch that you've installed there, for it to recognize that and get itself back to normal again.
Are you
Definitely more than
finding
likely a pressure switch issue.
right? Do you sell a lot of these Zanussis in Ireland? What
Yes,
are
it is too.
the most common machines being sold dishwasher wise in Ireland today?
In Ireland, Whirlpool and Hotpoint and Indesit would have a strong foothold here, and Bosch dishwashers as well. I mean, Curry's put out a lot of high sense machines at the moment, but the problem seems to be there is aftercare and spares, which I believe they're trying to re-evaluate at the minute. Um, but Zanussi would be a popular machine, although I do find Electrolux is starting to hone back the Zanussi brand in Ireland to put forward the Electrolux brands as priority now, and AEG as well, selected stores. Um,
Yeah, Euronics seem
the,
to push the Zanussi and AEG brands quite heavily. They
yeah,
see, yeah,
yeah,
and
their
that's the
household name here. They have been. I mean, the old appliance of science advert days is still stuck with the population here to this day. You know, it was brilliant marketing at the time. So it's still in people's heads today, the appliance of science, and they think Zanussi, like, you know. So it was brilliant marketing that's lasted a lifetime to this day.
Gretchen, hi Gretchen, good morning to you. Good morning to you because she's in America and I know her, so she's just jumped on. And we have, let me just remove this one. Appliance guy, do you remember the approximate weight of that washer drum washing line holder you made? Oh, you're talking about the clothesline. Well, what I used was a 7 kilo Bosch drum. I put caster wheels on the bottom of it, and then I put a tube in the middle of the drum and I filled it with concrete. So whatever the size of the drum is times the concrete. I can't tell you the exact weight. It wasn't something that I was going to, well, it wasn't something after I made it that I could lift. That's why I put it on caster wheels. But they make fantastic clotheslines. Burkeye, can you find that video? Yeah, and put it in the chat for them. Look, it depends on the drum, mate. Whatever size of drum that you have is depending on. I didn't just fill it with concrete. What I did, I smashed up the concrete blocks on the drum and stuck them in as stones, and then I poured some liquid, or not liquid, just concrete on top of that and mashed it all down so it became one. So I didn't have to waste too much concrete. So I was just using some building rubble basically mixed with concrete to actually create the weight that would hold the clothesline in a heavy wind. And I've used them now for umbrellas as well. They make great patio umbrella holders, and even tables just to push around the patio for parties and so on. There's so much you can do with old machines and drums. The list is endless. New loom, one last one, and then I'm going to call it a day. Let me bring them up in order. Bish Bash Bosh, is there a way to convert my Bosch washer to a hot and cold fill? Only if the manufacturer produced that circuit board with a connection point for the additional wiring. Normally, I would say definitely no. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, why you would want to do it? It's more
Yeah.
efficient to wash with cold water, and because the low water level in those machines basically wouldn't make any economical sense to try and attempt to do so. But I'm sure you would need access to Bosch software. But as Paul says, the PCB may never be compatible to allow that anyway. So most probably not feasibly, anyways. No.
Okay, so look, Junior, we've come to the point where we've been streaming for an hour or so now, and we would, to be able to help you, I'm quite happy to do this on the next show, but we are going to need your full model number. But if you say you've got a GA washer that trips the keeps tripping my dedicated, that would be an RCD. I think this is an American machine. You've got some type of earth leakage. This could be the heating system. It could be a motor. What else would cause an earth leakage fault, Barry?
Uh, if it's one of those giant GE washers, which I believe is the heat pump version, or is it just a washer on its own? Definitely, it's something to do with the heating element or control board circuit whenever it comes to drawing that high energy. Is it happening straight away when you turn the machine on, or is it midway through the wash cycle? We need to figure that out, and that will point you in the direction of where you need to go and look. But most likely the heating system, as everything else is brushless motors and things like that, which rarely go wrong or cause a earth leakage. So most likely your heating system.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm going to call it a day. Are you happy with that, Barry? I think we've given everyone plenty of time to get questions in, and we've gone through about.
Absolutely.
I do appreciate you jumping on today, keeping me company in Morocco, and your technical skills always. As I'm not doing so much in the field nowadays, it is nice to have someone that really does spend time in the field, especially when we were dealing with that Zanussi dishwasher. I wasn't aware that there was an upgrade, and that's because I'm not on the tools all the time in the field anymore. I'm either in the workshop making videos or I'm out exploring the industry out here. So I'd like just to thank you very much indeed for helping, Barry. It is much appreciated.
It's absolutely a pleasure, guys, Paul, to you and your viewers. And I'd like to wish all the mothers a happy Mother's Day out there today as well. Hope you have a lovely day. But
What
thanks
we'll
for having
do
me, guys. Pleasure.
What we'll do for everyone, if any customers are from Ireland, we'll put a link in the description to Barry's company, TDA. And if you do need any washing machines serviced, they also sell new appliances as well. What are you selling appliance wise now? Or have you got a showroom now, or is it just to order for customers?
Just to order for the customers, Paul, treat it like an IKEA setup. They want us to supply something that we look after service wise and trust us. So they're not too bothered about what we give them as long as when they lift the phone when something's broken, we can sort it out.
Okay.
So
Well, all I can do is thank you from my heart, Bat. I really do appreciate the time and effort, and especially on Mother's Day, you're most probably getting your ears burnt for not spending enough time.
Mom understands. She, she lets me do it.
Right, okay. Well, thanks very much indeed for your time. Next week, Sunday, 4 p.m. GMT, we'll be doing the show. The earlier you get the questions into us, the more chance you've got of being on the show. We try to help everyone, but there is only so much time we can allocate each week to helping customers. So I hope you appreciate the time that we put into this. Thanks very much for joining us. Gretchen, have a great evening, my friend. Thank you very much, Gretchen. And I will see you next Saturday, girl. Thanks very much indeed, Barry. Goodbye, everyone. Hope you
Most
enjoyed.
welcome. Goodbye, everyone.